Have you ever met someone who is incredibly brilliant? Maybe a software engineer who writes flawless code, a data analyst who can read complex patterns, or a manager who runs an entire department. But the moment they have to speak English in a high-stakes meeting, they suddenly freeze. Their pulse quickens. They start overthinking every single word. And instead of the articulate, sharp professional they actually are, they sound hesitant, broken. They trip over basic vocabulary. It is a fascinating paradox. Why do highly intelligent people struggle the most with speaking English fluently? If they can solve complex equations, lead cross-functional teams, or read massive volumes of literature, why is a simple conversation in a second language so incredibly difficult? Today, we are going to look past the surface level advice of just practice more or read more books. We are diving into the deep psychology behind why your intelligence might actually be the exact thing blocking your fluency. We're going to break down the hidden mental traps that smart people fall into. Look at how the brain processes language under stress and map out a practical, psychological blueprint to unlock the fluent speaker inside you. If you've ever felt like your English doesn't match your actual intellect, this episode is specifically for you. Let me share a story about a person named Carlos. Carlos is a brilliant senior data architect from São Paulo. In his native Portuguese, he is charming, articulate, and highly authoritative. He can command a room of executives effortlessly. A few years ago, his company promoted him to a global role. Suddenly, he had to present his data models to the executive board in New York via Zoom. The first time he did it, something strange happened. Carlos spent 3 days preparing his slides. He knew his data inside and out. He knew exactly what the numbers meant. But when the CEO asked him a direct, unscripted question, Carlos, what's the underlying variable driving this specific projection? Carlos froze. In his head, a war broke out. He thought of the answer in Portuguese. Then he tried to translate it. He looked at a word like variável and thought, is it variable? Am I pronouncing the V right? Should I use a passive voice structure to sound more academic? Wait, what if my grammar is wrong? While his brain was busy running this massive diagnostic check, 5 seconds of dead silence passed on the Zoom call. To the board, Carlos looked unsure of his data. To Carlos, he felt humiliated. He told me later, in that moment, I felt like my IQ dropped by 50 points. I felt like an imposter. Does that sound familiar to you? That feeling where your mouth can't keep up with the speed and depth of your thoughts? The psychology of the smart person trap. To understand why this happens to Carlos and why it happens to you, we have to look at psychological barriers. It isn't a language issue. It's a cognitive habit issue. Let's break down the 3 distinct psychological reasons why high intelligence actually gets in the way of speaking fluidly. 1. The curse of the high standards, perfectionism. Smart people are used to being good at things. You built an identity around being competent, accurate, and correct. When you speak your native language, you have nuance, humor, and precision. But when you speak a second language, you suddenly lose that precision. You sound basic. Your intellect feels minimized. Because smart people hate sounding unintelligent, their brain develops a defense mechanism. If I can't say it perfectly, I won't say it at all. You filter your words so heavily before they leave your mouth that you completely kill the natural, flow of human conversation. 2. Hyperanalysis and overmonitoring. In psychology, there is a concept known as the monitor hypothesis. It suggests that when we learn a language through grammar, rules in a classroom, we develop an internal editor in our head. Smart people have an overactive editor. Before you even finish a sentence, your internal monitor is checking the tense, the preposition, and the pronunciation. Speaking a language requires real-time processing speed, not deep analytical processing. When you treat speech like a math problem that needs to be solved before you speak, you create a massive bottleneck in your brain. 3. Hyper-awareness of audience perception. Highly intelligent individuals are incredibly perceptive. They pick up on micro-expressions. When you are speaking, you aren't just thinking about your words. You are intensely calculating what the other person is thinking about you. Are they judging my accent? Did they notice I used the wrong tense? Do they think I don't know what I'm talking about? This cognitive overload forces your brain into a state of social anxiety, which actively shuts down the speech centers of the brain. Why academic methods failed you. The root of this problem goes back to how you were taught. Most smart people succeeded in school because they were excellent at memorizing rules, taking tests, and analyzing text. You were rewarded for being 100% correct on paper. But spoken communication is an entirely different cognitive system. Writing and reading are slow, analytical tasks handled by your explicit memory. Speaking is a fast, reflex-driven task handled by your implicit memory, the same part of the brain used for riding a bike or playing an instrument. You cannot analyze your way into a reflex. If a soccer player stops to calculate the exact angle, physics, and wind velocity before kicking a ball during a fast breakaway, they will lose the ball every single time. They have to rely on muscle memory. Your problem isn't that you lack vocabulary or grammar knowledge. Your problem is that you are trying to use an analytical, academic framework to execute a real-time motor and psychological reflex. So, how do we fix this? How do we close the gap between your real intelligence and your spoken English? We don't do it by opening another grammar book. We do it by shifting your psychological framework. Here is your actionable 3-step strategy to transition from an analytical language learner to a natural fluent communicator. The strategy: lower your accuracy threshold. Mindset shift. Accept that you will lose 30% of your native nuance when speaking English, and that is completely fine. Your goal is not to sound like an academic poet. Your goal is to transfer information clearly. Give yourself permission to use simpler words and shorter sentences. Speed and connection matter far more than flawless syntax. Shift from study to immersive echoing. Input adjustment. Stop analyzing words on pages. Instead, consume conversational audio, like podcasts, interviews, or casual vlogs, and shadow them. Shadowing means repeating what they say, exactly how they say it, just a fraction of a second behind them. This trains your brain to treat English as a rhythmic sound pattern rather than a set of abstract structural rules. Prioritize communication over performance. The execution. When you enter a meeting, stop viewing it as a test where you are being graded on your vocabulary. Treat it purely as a mission to ensure the other person understands your idea. If they understand the core concept, you win, regardless of whether you used the perfect preposition or past participle along the way. Your intelligence is your greatest asset in your career. Don't let it become your greatest prison when you speak. The next time you feel yourself freezing up, remember Carlos. Remember that your brain isn't failing because it's broken. It's failing because it's trying too hard to protect your intellect by being perfect. Let go of perfection. Embrace the messy, imperfect reality of human conversation. If this psychological breakdown resonated with you, and you want to stop overthinking and start speaking with natural ease, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. We break down the intersection of communication, mindset, and professional growth every single week. Drop a comment below and tell me, what is the exact scenario where your brain freezes up the most? Is it presentations, casual small talk, or unexpected questions? Let's discuss it down in the comments section. Thank you for tuning in. Protect your mind. Stop editing your speech, and I will see you in the next episode.